Hey y'all, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, with all this chaos and all these additions and defections, I've just decided to do an updated post-draw video. Let's take a look at the post positions as they stand now, and then maybe the results of them and who we're going to use and who we're going to toss as a result of them. So let's take a look. What the updated post-draw looks like. You can see I've taken out the ones that have scratched, so 9 Skinner and 10 Practical Move. And so obviously everything from the outside moves up 2 places. So Disarm, Jace's Road, Sun Thunder, Angel of Empire, Forte, Raise King, Derma Sotogaki, and Rocket Can have all moved up a couple of positions. So then your 3 additions are King Russell, Mandarin Hero, and Cyclone Mischief. And though they have the numbers 21, 22, and 23, they will be in the posts 19, 18, and 17, because now we only have 19. Very important to note that. So that's what the new post draw looks like. If we then take a look at what running styles our horses have, we'll see that Derma Sotogaki, Cyclone Mischief, and Jace's Road are likely ones that are going to try to get up on the lead. You'll notice they're all still on the outside. In bold are the horses I think benefited from the scratches, and I would certainly like to think that Derma Sotogaki would benefit now from the scratches, because he gets a little closer to the rail, not much, but a little bit closer, and that's going to give him a little bit better shot to get up near the lead, where I think he would impact this race the best. Now, we don't know for certain whether or not he's going to take back or not, because he has run from off the pace in the past. But it's just my hunch that they're maybe going to send him, especially since he's got a more favorable draw now. Cyclone Mischief, he's been running that way in the Florida Derby and the Fountain of Youth. I think they'll try to get him up there again. His one experiment rating in the past in the Holy Bull wasn't very successful, so I think they're going to get him up near the engine. Don't think it's a very good post for him to try that, but what choice do they have? Kind of the same thing with Jace's Road. I mean, I don't expect him to factor in this race at all, but he does like to run from up near the lead, so that's where he'll be. Now, the pace pressers, the ones that should be right off and will like to be near to the lead, are Verifying, Confidence Game, King's Barnes, Reincarnate, Mage, Rocket Can, and Mandarin Hero. Of the new post draws, I think Rocket Can probably got the best benefit of it. It gets him a little farther inside. I don't know that it's that much of a benefit, really, but it does give him a little better shot to get up where he needs to. I still am not confident he's going to factor in this race, but anyway, it's a little bit of an advantage. Mandarin Hero really, I think he'll want to be up near the lead. It's not a very good post position, being on the extreme outside, but nonetheless, he's in the race. So I guess in that respect, you could say the post benefits him. Then we have our off-the-pace horses, more mid-pack or closers, and that would be Hit Show, Two Fills, Tap It Trice, Disarm, Angel of Empire, and Forte. None of them really have had any impact by the new post editions, because they were all outside anyway, and Angel of Empire and Forte in particular, I think, had a good place to be. So I don't think it really impacts them too much. Going a little farther inside isn't going to change things a whole lot. Disarm probably got a little better position, because he could want to try to get a little closer to the pace than perhaps Angel of Empire and Forte do. So from that perspective, now that he's in the 9 hole, that's a little better for him. Tap It Trice still, it's going to be a real tough challenge for him from that post. He's just going to really have to work out a trip, and for his running style and with the lack of tactical speed, it's going to be pretty difficult. So he's still up against it. Same thing with Two Fills. Hit Show, I mean, I'm starting to think that, the fact that Verifying is right next to him and will be gunning up for near the lead, that might open up a hole for Hit Show, and he might actually be able to get to his spot. I still don't think he's good enough to win, but you might want to think about putting him underneath as a possible, because just because tactically I think he might be able to get to where he wants to, but still kind of on the fence about him. And then, of course, our deep closes we know are going to be Sun Thunder, Rays Kane, and King Russell. They're going to be coming from the clouds, and it's just a matter of if they get the trip and things break just right, that they clunk up into the money, but they are not win candidates. They're just not fast enough. So if we take a look at what the updated post draw has meant to my strategy anyway, my big four are Tapit Trice, Angel of Empire, Forte, and Derma Sotogaki. I was really looking forward to using Skinner. I think he was sitting on a big race, so I'm really disappointed that he's out of the mix. Those are ones that I'm going to use as win candidates and will be on all my tickets without exception. The asterisks go by Angel of Empire and Forte. I consider them to be the strongest win candidates, and they will be the primary focus of my tickets. This means I will be liberally using them for second, third, and fourth. Exacta, Trifecta, Superfecta are 2 fills, Mage, Disarm, and Mandarin Hero. I'm going to throw him in there because he seems to be on the upswing right now, and there's something. The way the Japanese are running this year, why not throw him in there and see if he can get underneath? It might be very possible. 2 fills as well. I mean, I don't think he's distance. I think he's a little bit up against it, but he's been such a fighter all year, and I think he is on the upswing. I just don't know if it's going to be enough. I think underneath is more than likely. Mage, to be honest, I'm still a little on the fence with him because of his lack of foundation. He is improving. I just don't know if it's enough to get him into the winner's circle. Disarm I consider to be an extremely live long shot. He seems to be training well. I think he has the talent there. Still a little worried he lacks foundation because they've rushed his training along. But just think of it in these terms. It would be a kind of a feel-good story if Asmussen won it with Disarm after last year and losing with Epicenter, who really was the best horse in that race. Anyway, that's just my thought on it. Then you got your 2, third, and fourth, and that's all I'm going to use it for, and very limited for third because of their late-running closing style, and that would be Sun Thunder and King Russell. And the main allure is the fact that they're at 50-1 each. Aside from that, they have no chance to get into or win this race. I do not think there's going to be a hot pace, which they kind of need to run at their best. But just the fact that they'll be late runners, a lot of horses will be backing up, then potentially they'll be able to factor. But that's all. I do not see a Rich Strike in this race this year. Rich Strike, always remember, was a lot more talented than Sun Thunder or King Russell at this stage of their careers. So please get that out of your mind. I do not think it's going to happen. Very unlikely. So our tosses are hit show mainly because really haven't been wild with his New York efforts in comparison to the rest of the field. And the post is a kind of a difficult one. He may be able to overcome that challenge because Verifying may be able to open up a hole for him. But I think it's unlikely he's going to factor. Verifying, he's just, I think he's sitting on a bounce. And I think he'd be Justify has not been very good with races over 1 1/8 miles. I think he's like 1 for 21, some kind of ridiculous statistic like that. So I think he's up against it. And I think in the Bluegrass, he ran the best he can. Confidence Game, I haven't liked since the Rebel Stakes. He's missed some training. And yes, he's been, all reports are he's training great and he looks great and everything else. But don't forget, there are other horses in this race who are training well and look great, and they're better than he is. So I think it's highly unlikely that he's going to factor in this race. Maybe underneath at very best, but that you go back and watch that Rebel Stakes, and he was all in to get that distance at that level. And that was a 94 buyer, and that won't cut it here. Kings Barnes, I've gone back and forth with, and the bottom line is I don't think he has enough foundation. He hasn't faced anybody. He hasn't been challenged. He hasn't had dirt kicked in his face. Nothing. And those pace fractions he had for the Louisiana Derby really didn't tell us very much at all. If you go back to his other 2, I think it shows he's still in development. And if he beats me, he beats me. But at 12-1, I think he's an underlay in this spot, given the lack of foundation and no racing at 2. Reincarnate just is proven to be a perennial disappointment. And yes, he may get up near the lead in this race, but we've been waiting for him to do that the last two, and he hasn't. So I don't know what is in store. I just think this one's a cut below. He's just not good enough, and I'm tired of even thinking that he might be. So he's out. Jason's Road has proven he's not good enough. If he couldn't catch Kings Barnes in the Louisiana Derby with those glacially slow fractions being right up behind him, he isn't good enough. He's a toss. Raise Kane, his two-turn effort in the Bluegrass really didn't show me very much. I think he's just a cut below. I don't think he's good enough, and he's a toss for me. Upgraded if it rains because of the Gotham. You have to do that. But other than that, I don't think he's a factor in this race. Rocket Can, I think he's plateaued. I think we've seen the best we're going to see of him. I think the Arkansas Derby demonstrated that. I think he is going to run a good race, and he perhaps can move forward a little bit, but it won't be good enough. And particularly since he's parked on the outside and they've put blinkers on him, a desperation move, remember. He's going to be gunned early. He's going to use up a lot of energy, and I don't expect him to be there late. Cyclone Mischief has proven to be a cut below all year. He's a pace factor in this race only, and he's a pretty ready toss for me. So that's the way I'm going to look at the Derby, and that's the way I'm going to wager. And hopefully this will help you draw some of your own conclusions as well. So you can see, since a couple of the scratches came from the outside, it doesn't affect the field terribly much. But there were a couple that benefited from the pace. And the good news for us is I think we have an honest pace to run to now, and it makes it a little more uniform of a race. So a little easier from making selections of who we're going to use and who we're going to toss. Hope the analysis helps you come to your own conclusions. And I think it's going to be a fun race. It's really interesting to see what Mandarin Hero is going to do now for sure. And I am disappointed I didn't want to use Skinner. I really think he was sitting on a big one. But them's the breaks, and we'll just deal with what we have. If there are any more updates or whatnot, we'll stay vigilant, and we'll certainly let you know. Hopefully now we can all just go back to our private hell of coming up with our wagering tickets, and we can just enjoy the races. That would be the nice part. If you do like what you see here, please like and subscribe. And we do thank you, of course, for coming by. And I'll be talking to you in the near future. Again, best of luck this weekend, and be well.